body, soul, and heart. These are the two aspects that we are taking up today. What is the relationship of these three vis-a-vis our own spiritual and worldly development? And where is there a separation of the inner and the outer dimension? I think it's very important to know, because our religion is a holistic religion. Our spiritual sensibilities are holistic, which means it embodies a whole body and soul. So from excuse me, from what we know, we have a soul that was given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have a body that was given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to house the soul. And we have a heart with which to validate our truths and define our wants and needs, because we have something called free will. Because it's our heart will decide on what we want to do, and it is through the emotions that the heart displays do action happen. So I think, to put it simply, I would think the soul is our real self, the inner dimension that gives me my identity and your identity and everybody's identity. Because in the world of souls, we all agreed that we were obeisant to the Creator. And so in this world, we were sent with a body and the soul that we represented in the past. So our time here will be to help this soul to reach the highest level of piety, perhaps. So that's the part. The body, of course, we know it is our physical self, our bones, the muscles, the blood, and our features are all outward physical content. And then we have also the heart. The heart is a pumping organ for our blood, but beyond that, now we realize that the heart is a thinking organ also. It's not only the brain that thinks, but the heart also thinks. But the difference is the brain is more a storage of information, and perhaps logic can be also identified as one of the virtues of the brain. But the heart is the real true self. They say what your heart feels is the real truth. Body, the brain can lie in the sense to do a wrong also. But the heart will say, no, that's not right. And so through the heart you get your true, the truth of your being. And what the heart expresses are the emotions. And those emotions translate into action. So whether you do a good action or a bad action depends on what your heart has decided for you to behave in whatever way we want. We have the will. So I hope that's okay.
That's a very interesting opening statement. Well, heart seems to determine the character of a person, and the quality of the heart or the purity of the heart is expressed, or it is demonstrated by means of behavior that is in line with the quality of the heart. So I think we should make an effort to keep the heart pure. If we leave heart for the heart to take its own course, that we may get derailed from the path we should be treading. That is because the distractions are too many in the world around us. There are too many distractions which are giving some illusions of truth, illusions of success, illusions of merit, while they are hollow within. So we should not let our hearts be trampled by those distractions or those deviations or temptations. So to cultivate the right attitudes to life, the right attitude to fellow human beings, to one's family, to one's society, and to develop right obligations, right attitude overall is very important. I still remember as a young man I used to see an inspirational quote flashed on wall when we used to be in schools. So it said, "It is your attitude, not your aptitude, that determines your altitude." So the right attitude we can only cultivate when we have the purity of heart, when we have the right qualities in our heart. For example, if the heart becomes overtaken by pride, if the heart becomes overtaken by vanity or greed or jealousy or heartlessness, or in one's heart of hearts, if one is not able to extend the kindness at the right moment to those who deserve the kindness, especially those who are closest living around. So that gives an idea of how much effort is required to sustain or to preserve the purity of the heart. So there are two sorts of efforts in that way. One is to preserve the purity of the heart. The other effort is to continuously keep purifying the heart. So purifying the heart leads to purification of soul and nourishment of soul. So as spiritual nourishment, we should be in touch with zikr, remembrance of God, remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Quran, and also the right material, the right inspiration, because our senses are windows to the heart.
Yes.
So as windows, we should be reading the right things, right materials, right stuff, and we should be viewing the right, using the eyes to see, to view, to enjoy right things, and restrain ourselves when there are temptations.
Yeah. Of course, before you can correct yourself or purify yourself, you have to at least have something to purify. Right? So your heart gets corrupted over time, or your soul gets corrupted over time, and only then you need to, and it happens to everyone, I'm sure, as we grow up, that pure soul and the pure heart gets corrupted, muddied, or sullied, whatever you want to call it, through the actions that we do. And as you said, the five senses is what brings you to that situation. Very, very nicely put. And I think we could dwell a little bit on how our hearts are corrupted. Because a child is born with a clean heart, clean soul, so to say also. But over time, I would say in the process of growing up, it's contaminated. It doesn't maintain that purity that it should. So how does that contamination happen? For instance, can we talk about an example, for instance?
Heart's contamination comes from our interactions, our interactions with our environment, the people we interact with. So it is very important that we choose right people to interact with. And if you, of course, one should not be in a sequestered or in a very unique circle of friends. So one should be, interaction I'm referring to, one should be open to everybody. One should not be snobbish.
Well, that's good.
Should not feel superior to anyone else. So that is not a right attitude. And we cannot be judgmental about people's, character or people's appearances so not being judgmental, but being open to everyone. And that openness of mind will help us cultivate the right attitude. Because our yardstick to right truth, yardstick or our touchstone of what is true and what is untrue should be measured using our virtues, our standards. What are our standards? Our spiritual canonized materials, canons, Quran and Sunnah. These are time-tested and perfection through history. There is abundance of evidence that if you observe the prophetic traditions, whether as a Muslim or as a non-Muslim,
very true.
If you observe prophetic traditions and if you implement prophetic traditions in your life, then you benefit from it. You reap the benefits of it. Whether we see in modern times or as the world developed after Industrial Revolution, we see a lot of Islamic concepts being appropriated by non-Muslims, and many concepts they co-opted, while they are themselves not being Muslims, and that benefited them immensely. And we sometimes mistake these values as alien to us.
Do we? I don't know.
Sometimes. For example, when democracy came, we thought freedom of expression is not our tradition. Freedom of movement or freedom of assembly or these civil liberties. We thought civil liberties were alien to us, and it is coming from the West, we thought. But it is very much deep rooted in our traditions. The openness, for example, freedom, independence of judiciary, and how much of independence a judge or chief justice enjoys. A whole lot of things. Maybe I'm taking too much time.
No, I think you are going the right way, and I'm listening. I would look at it when you say that we have taken it from the West, for instance, is a very plausible statement you're making. But in the same vein, I think our ignorance also, because we have not looked into our canons, as you say, in the way we should. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Because we have the Quran as the Furqan also, which is the criterion, right? And the criterion
to judge right and wrong.
No, criterion means everything has the standards of the truth for everything. How you behave, how you deal with other human beings, how you enjoy your marital relationships, how you bring up your children, even from the time you give, breastfeed the child, how long you have to breastfeed, 2 months and 2.5 months, and even in a contract relationship also, exactly what you're supposed to do. If you don't have a person to write a scribe, then you get how many people? 2 people from here and 2 people from there. And then even make them promise. All these things are there, which are in fact today's standards also in our contracts, or in the way that we look after our children, or marital relationship. All those have the standards that were provided from the Quran. And then the prophets, of course, the hadith, has provided us with the additional wisdom of interpretation, right? And so it's very true. But what happens when we don't look at these things? We have the diamond in our hand, but we are not aware that we have the diamond in our hands. And so we go looking for the diamond somewhere else. And as you say, yes, the West, because we go for our studies, we go for our knowing how to live the modern life, development, civilization, as they have written it in their historical claims, and also enunciated it to be the way civilized people have to live. All those things are there, and we lap it up lock, stock and barrel, so to say, because of course we go there when we are young, in our teenage times, and we are exposed to the things that they teach, and we take it as truth. But if we have looked at the material that we have, meaning our canons, it's all there. It's all there. But nobody has told us these things. Our teachers didn't tell us. Our parents didn't tell us in the way it should. Of course, I have Durusul Akhlaq, that little booklet that Sheikh Jamil wrote 85 years ago. But how many people look at it now? If we had those lessons inculcated in our classrooms, we wouldn't have the chaos we are having, for instance. I'm saying chaos because, as we say, we look at our environmental problems, our societal problems as material to discuss in this program. You'd see every program that we have talked about our social condition and how do we deal with it. And we have enough solutions in our Quran, but we are not looking for that. Even our constitution could be the Quran. And our, I don't know, when we look at democracy, that's another topic we have to, but you alluded to democracy. Yes, somebody else's view on governance, that is. And we have taken that to be a standard for ruling a nation or governing a nation. But is it really the final thing? Or is it the perfect thing? We have something more perfect. I think all those. So ultimately you're looking at, I'm also taking more time. But I think ultimately our hearts get contaminated. Our hearts become confused. And that confusion has to be allayed again, brought back out of that ignorance, as we called tazkiyah, just as you said, zikr and all these things, and the many rituals and the recitations that we have to do will give us, if you look at the meaning intently, you will realize that there is so much of wisdom in that. And as you said, we don't have to dispute that because we know it's Allah's kalam. So if we are sure about that, then we don't have to say, is this right? Is that wrong? But I know, as you said, you have hukum in that, and then you have mutashabiyat also. And those two are very different. And that's for us to do our own analysis and reflections. Not to reject it necessarily, but for us to also, exercise our minds of discernment, essentially, when we look at the Quran in a different sense, more deeper reflection on it, rather than just reciting it every day. Yeah. Do I make sense?
Yes, yes. This is a lot of sense. Coming to understanding the real purity of heart, how do we understand when heart is pure, and how do we realize, how do we meet people with a clean heart? And how do we know a person has a clean heart? Or how do we know how not to purify a heart? And sometimes we take alternative approaches. There are so many alternatives. For example,
For improving the heart?
Improving the heart's conditions. So many prescriptions are all
Of
around.
course, medically there are lots of prescriptions for the heart.
Even non-medical prescriptions. There are so many prescriptions going on about how to purify the heart. So one may get entangled in one of these approaches and get bogged down, and then very late they realize it was completely a...
Give me an example, please.
Well, we, as Dr. Zakaria has been emphasizing all along, for example, we mistake our health, overall health, as physical health. And we completely lose sense of, or lose track of, what we should do to purify the heart or purify our soul. Now, soul is something, as Muslims we believe, once soul is created, soul goes through different stages. And soul is created, so it is in our bodily self as we are living in this world, and it is transferred to barzakh, the afterlife, the first stage of afterlife, and the resurrection, and then we get soul enjoys paradise or purification or some, let us say, retribution at in the hell
Fire.
in the hellfire. So one suffers these things if there is a for example, if one is being maleficent to somebody or community or family, and then one will suffer the consequence of that. And one is extending, always exuding benefit to others, or good vibes to others, or kind words, or full of kind words and full of always in good spirits to cheer others up in down times.
Yeah.
So this way one is expected to be more beneficial to one's family, one's community, one's society at large. So if that spirit of kindness and spirit of good health to oneself and to others, if that is not cultivated properly, one is mistaking false as truth.
Yes.
And so this mistaking of false for truth is quite consequential in terms of ultimate outcome, as weakening of health or sometimes disastrous consequences.
Yeah, so that's the part that we don't usually
maybe too
touch.
abstract.
No, it's not. It's that you're right. We look at and in an illusional way or delusional way.
A lot of delusions
of the benefits we get or the blessings that we get from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, there is a force that sort of contaminates our thinking also. As they say, all the whisperings of this negative force within us, we call shaitan also. So it leads us astray in the sense, not forcing us, but gently pushing us towards the wrong path. No? Now, when we were younger, when we were little children, I remember having these little autograph books, It's like little and oblong. It's about 3 inches by 6 inches. It's like little booklet, and you give it to everybody to write something. So it'll usually be a good word, an inspirational sentence or something like that. And I remember one of them was, honesty is the best policy, right? Other things, keep away from issue bad company.
Issue?
Bad company. ESCHEW. That means keep away. Not
away.
ISSUEUE, no. Not issue, but issue, yeah? Issue bad company. Keep away from bad company.
Right.
So in a way, these are things that, if honesty is the best policy, then we should follow honesty if it is the best policy for life. And if you are to keep away from bad company, then obviously you will have good company. And we don't have too much to live, especially childhood. It sort of races away from us very quickly, and you become an adult. And if you don't use that young days to listen to some of these advices, you don't have a time to change your heart. Because this is a time of great physical changes, biological changes, your pre-teenage. And if you are not advised, then you have lost that opportunity to collect that benefit to you and store it in your heart for the future. Because it will be there for it to prompt you when you are going the wrong way. Hey, that's not good. You were told, your dad told you or your mom told you that this is not the right way. Are you going to go away from what they told you? But if no mother or father told them, then he would not even know. He has that negative voice in him telling him, hey, this is okay.
Yeah.
It's only one time, you know. And so you are led away. And you can't blame the children also, because we did not bring them up. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a child as a great trust, amana. And we are supposed to look after the child, not to take it as a burden, as a blessing actually. So you are supposed to bring it up in a way that he will be a good Khalifa for the future. Because that's the whole purpose of human beings sent into this world, to restore the grandeur or the goodness of this earth. Don't corrupt it, don't change it in the way that will not be beneficial for the next generation.
Yeah.
And that's what we are talking about, sustainable development also, which is don't destroy your environment so that the next generation cannot benefit from what you do. So I think this is the trend that we have to see. We have to see that our Islam is such a practical religion. It's not rituals alone. There are ritualistic things also, but those are also, challenging your inner dimension. And if you can look at it that way, you'll have a balance. The internal and the external will be in good balance, and that's the way that we are supposed to be.
Yeah, and Quran is not one of the main sources, but the main source for us to purify our heart. And anyone who reads Quran, especially as believers, you will find Quran being very, very impactful to purify our heart. So, a lot of heart talk and
Yes.
no hard talk. We will take a break. Stick around. Welcome back. So, conversation continues. Heart, soul, body. and interrelationships. Heart and soul vis-a-vis heart and body. So when we look at self, I think self is mostly satanic to all of us. If you let me give you some examples. The self tries to come in the way between you and God, between you and you are doing something good always. There's tendency or there's some temptation, as you said, whisperings in your ear. Why don't you delay it for the next day? Or why don't you delay it for if you were to give some charity, then there are some whisperings to hold it for the other day, for another day. And then, so there are always some whisperings or some
distractions,
urges in you coming up, sometimes with a lot of intensity, to commit an act of misdemeanor or things that
what we call a sin.
What we call sin, sin. So sinful behavior sometimes, these temptations. So one has to suppress these feelings and restrain the self, the satanic temptations in
so
oneself.
That's a kind of jihad.
That's not, I mean, not because satanic feelings are not because we are evil by nature or we are evil people. It is quite natural for all of us to have these temptations, and we should, as human beings, as Muslims, we should all try to restrain ourselves from these satanic temptations. Sometimes we enjoy being spiteful to somebody rather than being kind to somebody, and by being mean to somebody instead of being gentle with somebody. So the harshness is sometimes mistaken as bravery and courage and guts, as it were.
Yes.
So these mistaken concepts as truth are often alternatives to truth, and we happen to absorb them as truth, as you said, lock, stock, and barrel, without knowing what the reality of it. So the rhetoric in the world that's going on, especially media, media is always abuzz with so much of rhetoric about what is good, what is bad. So if one were to live by these narratives that are going around, making rounds in the social media, I mean, we will get lost. So one has to be aware of the rhetoric and reality. What is the reality? Rhetoric is, there's a world of difference between what's going on.
Yeah, but when you say that distractions, this thing that we have, I'm keeping it here just to show it, this has a lot of distractions. And I think we spend a lot of time on that. It can be used for good. It has the whole world of knowledge in it, but it has a whole world of distractions also. So you have the choice. And I think when you say all these obstacles that we face in life, what do you say about the test we are in? We're supposed to be in a test in this world. I mean, isn't that necessary for us to have, for us to pass a test? I mean, when someone sits for an exam in school, there will be difficult problems, difficult questions also. So it doesn't become a test if you don't have some kind of a challenge, no? So in life
some level of challenge has
to so in life too, these things are, should we not, being aware of these as challenges to our test would be an awareness that we will benefit by. But if you go in ignorance to these, when something wrong happens to us, we get upset. Or if there is a challenge, we say, oh, that's too hard. But we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give you a challenge that you can't fulfill, or something that is not a hidden blessing, for instance. Maybe today you might not like it, but tomorrow or a few months from now you may realize the value of that thing that happened to you. So all those are very important things for us to know, that nothing happens to us without a reason. Is that a good statement?
That's absolutely, that should resonate with every right-minded person, I think. The condition of the heart should be such that, as you said, the obstacles, the tests that we face in life, and we should be able to cope them in good spirit.
Yeah.
Cope them in such a way so that we don't curse the condition we are in. We don't lament anybody for the problems we are going through. It's not somebody's fault. It's nobody's fault. It's we may feel that somebody is to blame for the circumstances we may be in, but it's the by blaming you don't achieve anything. And you hurt yourself by blaming, and you sever relationships
Very true.
that you have cultivated for years by cursing, by blaming. So that the strength to bear,
Yes. Patience, huh?
to bear such turbulent times, to the problems, is very important. So we should be patient. We should persevere and not cave in the face of calamities and problems. We all face calamities in some point in time. Sometimes good times and bad is part of our life.
But they say calamities are to learn from. That
Is learned from. Yes.
Yeah.
Every calamity is an opportunity, and it could be a blessing in disguise.
Absolutely.
And maybe it's a preparatory stage for you to become someone who is much more better equipped for the future, or maybe it has cleansed you from some undesirable qualities you may have acquired along
So if
the
you
way.
don't have these feelings, you will have a very soft look on your face also, right? Some people have very angry looks, confused
Always at the boiling
looks.
point,
Yeah.
Always.
And so sometimes one tends to wonder, is there no happiness in this life?
Yeah.
Is there no joy in this lives?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. I think we should.
Is that to blame somebody else for their sadness, or is it a choice that they have, that they feel the victimhood of their situation?
Yeah.
I mean, they say everything is a choice, right? To get angry or not to get angry is also a choice. You can let somebody say anything to you and not get angry. But some people will say, oh, how can I stay without saying anything? He's been haranguing me all day. But that's the quality of patience that we need to find in ourselves. Would that be tazkiyah?
Yes, that's a good question. Well, some people have, as part of these alternative approaches to solving problems of self, or increasing self-awareness, or deriving or achieving some sense of fulfillment of self by venting out anger. So they say it may have some psychological grounding in it, psychologically, grounded in psychological theories. But reality is, if you keep venting out anger habitually, then you are cultivating yourself being an angry person.
Yes.
And that.
So it comes from the heart.
It comes.
Right.
Yeah. So if
Not from the brain.
it could be coordination, close coordination of both. Either way, the heart should be in charge, because heart is supposed to be in charge. So when the heart is in charge, when the heart takes command of the whole body, the heart will be encapsulate everything the body should be doing.
But you're very right. They say the heart is the source of all emotions. right? Emotions come from the heart. And that's why we say, Divehim also you have Hing Heo Miheke, Hir Rangalu Miheke.
And we seek forgiveness of each other.
Hit Tiri Miheke. All these are about the heart. Nobody says about the brain. So it requires us for us to really think about the heart, and cleansing the heart will cleanse the soul also, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cleansing the heart is the way to cleanse one's soul.
Yeah.
So that one's heart is, if heart is contaminated, you wouldn't see people forgiving each other if the heart is contaminated. But if the heart is purified, if your condition of the heart is good, it doesn't take you much time to forgive somebody. Because you know, by forgiving you are actually putting a load off your head or your heart or your body.
But it's fascinating, people
It's
don't think
lightening
that way.
yourself, isn't
But
it?
people don't think that way. That's the amazing thing. They like to be angry.
As if
cannot.
being angry, one is able to solve a problem.
Well, people think that if they're angry, they have given one up on the other person. But what happens inside you, the emotional, storm that goes within your heart, and how all these kinds of dopamines or cortisols and all these chemicals that flood your brain is hurting you. And if you're all the time angry and upset and not confused, but more angry and all that, these cortisol and all these chemicals stay in your body, and that can be dangerous.
And we know it's part of life that, if you cannot control your heart's conditions, that means your behavior, your overall attitude to life, it will lead to permanent damages.
Yes, and you become a different kind of person for society. Yeah. Because I'm going back to the point when you mentioned, isn't the condition of the heart it defines your attitude.
Yes.
And it's very true.
Yes.
Because your condition, if you are an angry person, you will be a very negative kind of, you don't see anything good in somebody else, we says. Positive. You're always critical, and nobody likes to be with people like that.
And positivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, the positivity of life also has to be a quality of the heart, because you cannot view the world with a negative light. So, for example, you have to believe what is true. You cannot say sun doesn't rise in the east just because you haven't seen it rise in the east. So reality is a reality. So we should consider truth as truth, falsehood as falsehood. What is untrue is untrue, no matter how prevalent it may be in our society, in the world, or how much of a constant it may be in our life. But reality will be reality and falsehood will be falsehood.
Yes,
so that distinction has to be made very clearly.
And that
we
has
reached
been
the end
really.
of the program, so why don't you close?
No, how many minutes do we have?
Just a minute or two.
Oh, no, I was thinking we didn't dwell on this part, but the point we want to tell the audience is that the contaminated soul can be purified, and that's for sure, because science itself, epigenetics, says you can become different. Some people say, no, I'm too old to change, or I have got a habit, I will not be able to change. But that's not true. Now the realization is your wiring of your brain, wiring of your hearts also can change if you truly want to change. But that want is very important. It's a very fascinating thing for me when you think about wanting. This is like asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please help me, please guide me with my heart. And that is scientifically also proved that if you really want something, and if you want to change a negative behavior you have, you can change. You keep on doing that for 1 month, and then it will become your new image.
That's a very inspirational.
And so it's a part of, from Islamic point of view, we talk about tazkiyah.
Yes.
But from a scientific point of view, from a psychological point of view, we could say this is how we change ourselves.
That's very inspirational. In fact, it is really possible for one to transform oneself.
Yes.
And to become a completely different person. So one doesn't have to, no matter how long one may have lived a different life from the rest of the community, we always there is room to come back.
Absolutely.
And reform and live a normal life. Normal life in the sense that where society welcomes.
Welcomes
in ways society welcomes you back. Yeah. With this we conclude this conversation. Dr. Abstar Yusuf, thank you very much.
Most welcome.
Thank you for,
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for watching.